Everyone, I am Dr. Hema. I am a fellow in pediatric gastroenterology and hepatology at Rainbow Children's Hospital. So today I'll be presenting a case of propionic acidemia. So the child is 1 year 6 month old female child born at term with a birth weight of 3.1 kgs. Child was born to a third degree consanguineous couple. There is a family history of previous deaths of a child on day 5 of life. So a brief history about that child. Child had lethargy, poor feeding, metabolic acidosis and hypotensive shock. The newborn screening showed elevated C3 levels. So given the past history, the newborn screening of this child was done proactively, which showed elevated propionyl carnitine levels in the serum, elevated 3-hydroxypropionic acid, propionyl glycine and methyl citric acid. The genetic testing, the whole genome sequencing confirmed propionic acidemia. So here we have a question to the panelists, to Dr. Upender. What is propionic acidemia and what is the metabolic pathway?
Propionic acidemia is one of the important organic acidemias where we come across in clinical practice. So inborn errors of metabolism, though rare, it's very important to know about their presentation, because most of the time, as in this case, metabolic acidosis, it could be some sepsis-like presentation. If you miss the diagnosis at that time, then outcomes are poor. So coming to propionic acidemias, it's autosomal recessive disorder due to deficiency of propionic coenzyme A carboxylase enzyme deficiency, which results in a blockage of the pathway of propionic acid. Actually, propionic acid is converted into methyl malonic acid, which is an important precursor for succinyl acetone, which is the important role in citric acid cycle, Krebs cycle for energy anabolic pathways. So leading this deficiency of this enzyme leads to excess production of all the products above the level of the block, that is propionic acid. And as this child has exactly all these metabolites in excess in their blood reports, like propionic acid will be here, methyl acetate, methyl citric acid, methyl citrate will be high, propionic glutamate will be high, leading to hyperammonia, and all this leads to toxic manifestations or metabolic crisis in this child.
Thank you, sir. Next question to Dr. Parijat Ram. What are the presentations of propionic acidemia and what are the diagnostic clues in newborns if there is no past history in the family?
Yep, so propionic acidemia can present classical variety in the neonatal period. Like as Dr. Upender said, that it can present like it is very difficult to differentiate it from the late onset sepsis. Like after first feed, baby may present with lethargy, vomiting, dehydration, and on investigations you may find acidosis. So that is the classical variety, and child rapidly can go into encephalopathy or develop seizures. Other varieties are also there where onset is a bit late, either in childhood, adolescence, or even late into adulthood also. And these patients may have hypotonia, intellectual disability, maybe history of repeated metabolic crisis, and a history of seizures also. So if we come to the newborns, definitely the making diagnosis at first go is difficult because sepsis is so common, late onset sepsis is so common. So the important clues are, first, in history if you can find consanguinity, I think it was there in this patient. There is any history of previous sib death or any other siblings having the similar kind of history. And on investigations, if you find that septic markers are not very high, CRP not very high, procalcitonin is not very high, despite adequate antibiotics, there is no good response. Ammonia is very high and rapid development of encephalopathy. Those can be the early symptoms because your TCMS, GCMS, and as you said, genetics all may take time. So early clues we have to catch so that we can start the treatment early.
Thank you, sir. So this patient had recurrent metabolic crisis with multiple PICU admissions with metabolic acidosis, hyperammonemia, sepsis-like presentation, and also one episode of metabolic stroke. Child also has failure to thrive at 1.5 years. The child weighs only 6.2 kgs and there is global developmental delay as well. Next question again to Dr. Upender. What are the reasons for metabolic crisis and how does it present?
So metabolic crisis most of the time is precipitated by some stressors. So most common stress is infections in younger children. Even slightly older children, prolonged fasting can precipitate the crisis. Sometimes, rarely, some drugs can precipitate the metabolic crisis. Of all these, most important stressor is being sepsis. So it's as previously also we were discussing, it's very difficult to differentiate between plain sepsis and underlying metabolic liver disease. It can precipitate the acute crisis and complicate the diagnosis. So it presents with multiple metabolic derangements, of which most important is metabolic acidosis. So it can have hyperammonemia, hypoglycemia, hyperlactatemia, lactic acids will be elevated, and ketonuria can be seen. So combination of all these should raise the suspicion of some underlying inborn error of metabolism, and we need to work up in that lines.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Next question to Dr. Radha Ramadevi ma'am. Medical and dietary management to avoid metabolic crisis and balancing protein restriction with growth in propionic acidemia.
Yeah, propionic acidemia is, as we know that it is one of the inborn errors recessive disorder. It is because of the absence of the enzyme propenyl-CoA carboxylase, and this is the one that catalyzes 4 amino acids in the food we take, and they are the leucine, isoleucine, and threonine and methionine. So these 4 amino acids are metabolized by this enzyme, and due to the deficiency of the enzyme, there is an accumulation of the byproducts of these 4 amino acids. And so our dietary management during, in these cases, should be divided into 2 groups. One is during acute decompensation phase and then the follow-up period. So during decompensation, that is when the child presents with metabolic crisis, the management should include correction of the metabolic acidosis and the associated complications like hypoglycemia and hyperammonemia. And during this period, for 24 to 48 hours, there should be total stoppage of the proteins, and it should not exceed beyond 48 hours. And this is followed by what is called the sick baby regime for the medical diet. And this is followed once the child recovers the typical medical diet available for propionic and methylmalonic acidemia. So this is the diet management, and the diet should be devoid of all these 4 amino acids. And we should not stop all the proteins because the child goes into protein malnutrition. And as you know, methionine is very important for the growth and for the DNA formation. And so when there is a deficiency of methionine, the growth will be delayed. So we need to restrict the normal protein to the extent of 0.8 gram per kilogram body weight. This is the regular protein which we can provide to the infant or the newborn through breast milk. And then the medical diet protein should be given anywhere between 1.5 to 2 grams. We have to give a little more protein because this is an infant, and so more protein needs to be given in the form of medical diet. Medical diet in the sense which doesn't have these 4 amino acids. So the total requirement of the protein is about 2.2 grams per kg per day, and this should be adjusted along with the calories. That is very important because if you don't give calories, there won't be any weight gain. Simple giving medical diet, which I have seen many practitioners are giving, this will make the child malnourished. And then if you don't add calories to this diet, they will not gain weight. So you have to build up with calories with what are called the various types of carbohydrate diets that are available, the low protein supplements. So with that, we need to follow the growth pattern as well as the mental development in the child. And then the monitoring of the renal and other parameters such as the CBP, calcium and vitamin D3. So these should be monitored while giving the diet management in the follow-up period. So here in this particular child which I am following, this is a very interesting case. Initially, the DNA diagnosis was not confirmatory of propionic acidemia. The whole exome sequencing did not reveal any DNA alterations. And because the previous child also had a propionic acidemia picture, then we went with whole genome sequencing. And with whole genome sequencing, we picked up a deep intronic variant in the PCCA gene, and that is the reason why the child developed propionic acidemia. Then we also checked the parents, whether they are carriers, and the parents are also carriers, which also further confirmed the diagnosis of propionic acidemia. So this patient we managed with a low protein diet, and then the special formula diet for propionic acidemia, along with the medical supplementation with carnitine, because carnitine is very important to improve the mitochondrial function. And then we have to give these children high doses of biotin, because biotin is the one which is very important to activate the carboxylase enzymes. And so you need to give biotin also, so that the activity of the enzyme can be improved, so that the metabolic control will be better. So this is how we need to follow the diet.
Thank you, ma'am. We have another question for you. What is the role of gene therapy in the current era for propionic acidemia?
This gene therapy is still not available for propionic acidemia. Although a lot of research is being done, especially with regard to the gene therapy in the mice is successful, but there are no human trials that are done. On the contrary, people are trying to look into other therapies, such as what are called the mRNA-based therapies for these conditions. And it is already proved successful in mice models. And presently, the phase 1 and 2 trials are going on in humans to use the mRNA base. And in this aspect, we are also developing mRNA therapies for these organic acid disorders. A research program is going on in the Institute of Life Sciences here in Hyderabad under my guidance. And I hope to get these mRNA-based therapies in future for these patients. But gene therapy is, at present, is not available. And even if it is available, it will be very, very expensive. And the other one that is coming up in a few years is the gene editing. And I'm sure you all know about the gene editing treatment that has been given for one of the urea cycle disorders recently to a child in the USA, which worked very well. And here you edit the defect in the SNP in the gene, and so that you correct the gene defect totally, and it will be a total cure. So this is what we are expecting to come up in future, that is the gene editing, which is a promising intervention in many single gene disorders. So once this gene editing comes, I think liver transplantation may take a back seat.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a common question to all the panelists. What are the indications and optimal timing for liver transplantation and outcomes in propionic acidemia?
Well, actually propionic acidemia is a very toxic condition compared to all other organic acid disorders. So propionic acid is very, very toxic, and in my experience, most of my propionic cases, they did not survive in spite of giving them the diet management and others. So, and they also go into mental retardation because of the recurrent impact on the brain, as well as development of metabolic crisis. So the prognosis as such is quite poor in propionic acidemia. That's why we need to intervene very early in life in order to save the child. And this is the child who did respond to diet management initially, but later on the child had problems. So to circumvent those problems, we didn't want to take a chance at a bad prognosis. So the reason for the timing of the liver transplant here is the growth failure and recurrent attacks of infections. So this is one of the most important indication to time the transplant. And the other is that the child's mental condition is very, very important. And if the mental status, if the child is retarded, there's no point in doing a transplant.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, so as ma'am said, it should be done as early as possible rather than late. Otherwise, repeated neurological insults may lead to permanent damage and child may not reach to his ultimate potential. So it should be done at earliest before the damage happens.
So our patient underwent liver transplant with mother being the donor. The indication was poor metabolic control despite strict diet and supplements, and repeated hospitalizations for metabolic crisis and risk of irreversible neurocognitive damage, and she also had severe growth failure. So next question to Dr. Parijat sir. What are the precautions to be taken in post-operative period in managing ammonia, acidosis and metabolic crisis in these patients?
So, unlike many other inborn errors of metabolism, liver transplant is not the cure for propionic acidemia. There are other organs and tissues which are still producing propionic acid. So, we need to be very careful. There are so many papers that post-op management, post-liver transplant, intra-op management of liver propionic acidemia management when the transplant is going on. So, after the transplant, immediately, child should not go into stress, otherwise his propionic acid levels will again increase and metabolites. So proper glucose infusion to keep in the anabolic state. Infections has to be controlled. If ammonia is going high, you have to give sodium benzoate and all. And once the acute phase is gone, even in prolonged period, you cannot immediately start normal protein diet. Initially, usually they are kept on a restricted diet. Over the time, different series are showing variable reports. Most of them still keep some control over the, as ma'am said, branch in amino acids and all to keep them less so that propionic acidemia. Only thing what it does is repeated crisis can decrease, but overall you can't say that the disease is cured. Even these kids, when even in future where long-term follow-ups are, is there some mental disability, some hypotonia still persists. So we need to take care of all those things.
Thank you, sir. Similarly, our patient was managed in the post-operative period with immediate nutrition. We had given by restricting the protein to 0.5 gram per kg per day. Parental lipid was given with 2 gram per kg per day. Ammonia was closely monitored. Sodium benzoate was given. And initially, we continued on low protein propionic acidemia diet and slowly started introducing normal diet, which she tolerated well. And she was also continued on biotin and creatinine supplements. Carnitine supplements. So this is the latest urine GCMS report of our patient, which shows normal metabolites. The 3-hydroxypropionic acid, propionyl glycine and methyl citrate are all in the normal limits. I think this question was already answered. So take-home message would be propionic acidemia condition needs to be diagnosed early with newborn screening or genetic testing if suspected. Medical and dietary management is the key to tide over metabolic crisis. Liver transplant in these subset of patients is challenging, especially in managing the intraoperative and postoperative metabolic crisis. Liver transplant cures the hepatic crisis, but not other systemic involvement like the heart, renal and the pancreatitis. So regular follow-up is advised. Future gene therapy may help these patients immensely. Thank you.
Show this pictures.